Okay, so I'm here to explain the X-Men timeline. And it all starts out with X-Men Origins, Wolverine. And this just explains how Wolverine got his powers and then his family origins and everything. So, yeah. And then next up is X-Men First Class, which is the prequel to the actual very first movies ever made. This is the young version of them all, except it doesn't really include Wolverine. It's the younger X-Men during the 1960s and explaining how they figured out what they are. Then next up is second solo Wolverine film, which takes place during the same time as X-Men First Class. It's just he's not in the movie. He's in Japan in this movie. And there's a brief cameo in the X-Men First Class that has him in it. Then is X-Men Apocalypse, which is a few years later. They pretty much have to take on this pretty bad dude from Egypt who was the very first one. And then this all leads up to X-Men, the very first one. And all this is the very first team up of all of them together. Storm and all the other people. Jean Grey, Cyclops, Professor X, Magneto. Then we have X-Men 2. This is honestly just a very bad movie. And all it does is just carry on a plot point. It's not super interesting. It just shows how they all kept on going, living in the X-Men mansion. Then next we have X-Men Last Stand, and all this is how Jean Grey goes out of control with her power, and so she is the main villain or antagonist in this movie, and they all have to team up together, have to try and stop her. So, and then basically that's the whole point. And then many years later, during 2018, is Deadpool. He's never actually a part of the X-Men team. He's always around them, though. He is an anti-hero, so he doesn't go villain or hero. He's either way. Then, a few years later, in the 2020s, we have X-Men Days of Future Past, which is basically, it's set in the 2020s. And all it is, really, is they have these things to control mutants. So they have to go back in time before everything to stop it, And then is Logan. So it's still, they traded out a timeline where everybody dies for another timeline where everybody dies. So, and then this is the third installment of the Wolverine trilogy. And this also explains Wolverine's somewhat of a daughter, X-23, who's supposed to be the younger female version of her, made in a lab. So